Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. My name is Ross Benjamin. I'm your host. It's Thursday, it's Wednesday, January the 3rd. And like every Wednesday, I'm joined by my two trusted and esteemed colleagues from gamblersworld.net, Mr. Sean Higgs and Mr. Jesse Schule. I'm also of gamblersworld.net, along with 7 other great handicappers where you can go and you purchase our premium paid selections, whether it be a 30-day subscription plan or less, or just a single game or multi-game daily package. We guarantee our plays that if you don't win, you don't make a profit, we will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. Sean, how are you, my man?
Not too bad. Nice little night yesterday. I'll take it. Just on to the next day. We
6-3 day, huh?
Yeah,
6-3, not a bad day whatsoever. I mean, we'll take that every day. Sean being a volume handicapper, and like he said before, he's off to one of those starts in college basketball where he's treading water kind of thing and spinning his wheels, as he likes to say. But he did the same thing in college football and the NFL, and then went on an absolute tear for probably about a 12 or 13 week period, at least. So keep an eye on Sean when it comes to college basketball and the NBA. He's very good at what he does. And, of course, we still got a week left of the regular season in the NFL. And then the NFL playoffs in the college football championship game. But, by the way, folks, we will be covering. We'll have the side. We'll have the total. We'll have props. We'll have a first half bet, all for you on Friday in our live show at 3 p.m. Eastern time, where these two guys will be with me. Mr. Schule, looking forward to that. But what do you got going on today, my friend? That's you can share with the audience.
Well, I'm always glad that I don't have to keep track of what day it is, and they leave that up to you, Ross, because we'd be in big trouble.
You see how well I did with that at the opening of the show, right?
Yeah, well, it was a rather pedestrian 2-2 day for me, which, it's not going forward or backward. Nothing to write home about, but I didn't do so well on the show, yesterday's show, and the guys in the comment section let me have it a little bit. But I'm excited to talk about today's games, and overall the results have been pretty good lately, especially with college basketball. So it's not like I'm about to completely overhaul my entire handicapping strategy over the last few decades over one bad show, I don't think.
Yeah, no, listen. They need the people who criticize you need to get a life, because first of all, if you watch the whole show, we went 2-1. Okay, Jesse happened to have the only loser. Me and Sean have been sitting in that seat several times where the other two guys have won and we didn't, and that's why we're a team. Okay, and on top of that, with Jesse, folks, I'm telling you, nobody comes on this channel unless they're proven, they're honest, they operate with integrity, and they're true pros. These two guys, along with Paul Bovey, Chip Chirimbus, Doug Upstone, and anybody else who appears on that show on this show, falls into that category. So if you want to criticize and judge somebody on one pick, look, if you lose by 1 or you lose by 50, it doesn't matter. It's a loser. And same applies to a winner. Let me ask you all of this out there. Did anybody who followed Jesse yesterday and took out Illinois and put maybe a $200 play on that game, did the bookie or the sports book call you up this morning and say that was such a terrible play, we're going to ask you to put up another 200 because that was horrible? No, you lost 200. Whether you lose by 1 or you lose by 50, get over it. On top of that, Illinois shot 62% for the game, and Northwestern played their worst game of the year. Those are kind of things that happen, okay? It happens. Stop acting like, look, there's nothing worse than what I like to term in the old school days as result bettors. Those are the guys who come in after the game either starts or finishes. After the game starts, their team's got a big lead, and they jump in and say, I told you so. Yeah, great pick. You know what I mean? Stop.
Yeah, okay? If they're going to say I told you so, they better say it before the game kicks off or before the opening tip-off.
Right, because I got no tolerance for that. Neither all of us don't have tolerance for that. But me being the less terrible of all of us, it hits even more. All right, we got 3 games to talk to today. We're going to go 3-0 today. All right, so none of you can complain. And for those of you who won the other 2 games, I'd like to hear from you. Anyway, Jesse's going to be looking at Clemson and Miami. Nice matchup in the ACC. Clemson really coming on strong, and Miami's sort of a bit of a disappointment. They're still a very good team, but we'll cover that. I'll let Jesse. I don't want to take any thunder away from him. Sean's going to be looking at Indiana and Nebraska, and lo and behold, we were talking off air. What's the college basketball world coming to when Nebraska's a 5-point home favorite against the storied program of the Indiana Hoosiers? And I'm going to be looking at Xavier in Villanova. I've been pronouncing it Xavier in the past, and there was one of our watchers or subscribers, I should say, that corrected me. Xavier, he went there. So, out of respect to him, I'm going to say Xavier. Okay. So, in any event, let's get right to it. Jesse, let's start with you. Clemson and Miami. All right. So Clemson right now is a 1.5-point favorite. The total's at 155. And again, like I said off here, Clemson's we thought they'd be pretty good this year, but to the degree in which they've performed to this juncture of the season, they've definitely exceeded expectations. And Miami of Florida, on the other hand, thought they'd be a top 10 type of team. And they're still a very good team, but some disappointing results so far this year. Again, let you take it over and you tell me what you see in this particular matchup.
Yeah, well, Miami, I think, what are they, 10-2? Rather pedestrian look about them, but they're still 8-0 at home. And they were 16-1 at home last year. They finished at the top of the ACC. So, there's only one way to go from there when you finish as the number 1 team in the conference. Maybe expectations are a little high. They did lose their leading scorer, Isaiah Wong, but they've got a pretty solid lineup still. They've got 3 of their starters back. They've got a transfer from Florida State, Matthew Cleveland, who's averaging 15 points per game. They still look like a strong team to me. Like I said, they've won 24 of their last 25 home games. Clemson comes in ranked number 18 in the country, 11-1 record, some impressive results. I don't have anything really negative to say about Clemson, and they look good, but this is a road game at a tough place to play. They were 5-6 on the road last year. I know they look pretty good, especially with that Syracuse transfer that you're probably familiar with, Ross, Joe Girard, the guard. Yeah. He's performing quite well for them. They're a favorite for a reason, but I'm not about to back a road favorite here against a Miami team that was the top team in the conference last year. And like I say, won 24 of their last 25 home games. You got an unranked home team against a ranked road favorite. I know which way I tend to go in that. And despite it not working out yesterday, like I said before, I'm not about to overhaul what I've been doing for the last 2 decades over the results of one show. We're going to take Miami as the home dog plus 1.5.
All right. So he's taking the Miami Hurricanes plus 1.5 over Clemson. Yeah, I said, Miami, maybe they have not lived up to expectations, but, they're still 10-2. They're still undefeated on their home court. Jesse brought it up, 24 out of 25 at home now, which deems to be a strong home court for a team that's an underdog right now. And the disappointing results that stick in my mind were their 2 losses. It's not that they lost these 2 games against good competition, but the manner of which they did so. And they lost at Kentucky by 22, and they lost to Colorado on a neutral floor by 27. So again, let's keep those in perspective. Those are 2 top 25 caliber teams. But they are at home, as Jesse pointed out, and that's the key right there. They have a very strong home court. Sean, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, they're 10-2. You lose to Kentucky, who could very well be a Final Four team, and then the Colorado game, which okay, it was a bad game. What are you going to do? Sometimes team plays a bad
Colorado's
game.
pretty good, Sean. Right? Colorado's pretty good. Last I checked.
Really, it's just they're 11-2. Colorado, the team.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember. Like last team went undefeated and just rolled through the season and doesn't have a bad loss somewhere. So stop with that. And I think on this show we did a Clemson Memphis game. I'm pretty sure we're all on Memphis in that spot. On the road,
and they lose that game by 2. Clemson loses by 2, but they cover as a 3-point dog. So
I don't want them on the road here versus Miami. It's Miami. It's Miami money line. Yeah. But is this going to be a 1-point game? I don't think so. Miami wins.
Yeah, and I'm looking last year when and again going back to last year, I think Miami was a stronger team on paper anyway. But last year when they met at Clemson, Miami came away with a 78-74 win. And again, Clemson's a much better team than they were a season ago, and they weren't bad last year. Miami, they may end up being just as good as they were last year, but right now, again, they got a lot to prove still going into ACC play. All right, so let's look at your game, Sean. And like I alluded to, Indiana at Nebraska, and what's the college basketball world coming to? And Nebraska's a 5-point favorite over the storied program of Indiana, and the total in this game is 151. What's your thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, in Indiana, this isn't like vintage Indiana. I mean, they haven't been good in quite a bit. I'm a Hoiberg guy. I thought Nebraska last year had a decent team, and it looks like they're kind of finally gelling as a whole here. We talk about early season, both of these teams are 10-3, 11-2. Losses, Kentucky, UConn losses there bad for Indiana. I like Nebraska, 5. It was actually 4 yesterday, and it's gotten up a full point since yesterday afternoon when I started looking at this game. I'm not really. Why wouldn't I take Nebraska? I know. How about this way? If you like Indiana, you just take a money line. They're going to win the game, right? We were talking about this like Purdue and Maryland yesterday. Team's going to come in, tough home courts, right? That's the play in conference time, right? You're at home, defend your home courts. You go on the road, it's going to be dogfights, whatever. I just like, again, bias towards Hoiberg a little bit. I like him as a coach. I think this team's pretty good. Indiana, we see them get blown out sometimes, but again, just like the Miami game, you're playing good teams. You're going to get bad losses, whatever. 5 here. I don't. Why does it looks light? You think this game would be a 3-ish maybe with Nebraska, just based on scheduling and wins and who they've beaten and strength of schedule, stuff like that. But something tells me Nebraska here pulls away, maybe a 10-point win. I like Nebraska again. Biased a little bit here, and I think I say this during baseball season too. I kind of like teams, and I'll kind of stick with them just based on, all right, this is how I feel about them in a power rating or a ranking of my notes or however I feel about them. I think this is a good team. They're projected to bottom tier. I don't understand. I think they're a good club. I like the coach. I like the team. I'm going Nebraska -5.
Yeah, I think Nebraska is a lot better than some have come to realize at this point. They did have a bad loss at Minnesota, a Minnesota team that's not exactly the teams that they've had in past years. And the one thing that sticks out to most people is getting blown out at home by Creighton by 29. But Creighton's a hell of a club. And,
but you know what? You could say Indiana lost by 20 to UConn. Teams lose by 20. We just talked about Miami getting crushed by Kentucky.
Yeah.
You're going to have bad. You know what? They beat Kansas State. And you know what? Kansas State beat Villanova. They beat Providence, and Providence trounced Marquette, who's a pretty good team. So
yeah,
you're going to have a good game. You're going to have a bad game. That's why you just have to kind of put those in one little section as, all right, I can't just focus on one big win, but I could kind of build off that as a team, what you're going to expect, especially versus an Indiana team. Indiana's won 5 in a row. You don't think these guys want to beat these guys? 7 in a row. I'm sorry. 7 in a row for Indiana here.
Yeah. Again, in the series.
Yeah,
so yes. Series. Yeah. Again, I think that a lot of casual observers or novice bettors will look at this matchup and see Nebraska as a 5-point favorite and say, how can I take Indiana here just based on reputation? Now, I'm not trying to throw the nail in Indiana's coffin or kick sand on them when they're down, but They're still 10-3. They get blown out by Auburn by 28. They play Kansas at home. They give them all they can handle, losing by 4. And then, they got blown out by Connecticut, like Sean alluded to. And then they started the season. They barely get by Florida Gulf Coast by 6. They barely get by Army by 8. And they barely get by Wright State by 9. When I say barely, when you're a 15, 26, and 14.5 point favorite, and you only win by single digits, that's barely in the world of sports betting. But Jesse, what's your thoughts here? We got a Nebraska team that's won 4 in a row now, including a home win over a very good Michigan State team as a 3.5 point dog. They go on the road. They knock off Kansas State by 16. Then they had a couple cream puffs in their last 2 games, but they did what they had to do. They won. So what's your take, Jesse?
Of all the things that both you guys said, the thing that stands out the most is when Sean said, it looks like this line should be about 3. And that's what I'm in full agreement with. I want to find a way to be on Nebraska here at home. They've lost 7 straight in this series. Obviously, Indiana doesn't look as good as they were in previous seasons. They lost some talent from last year. They lost their leading scorer. But they're still capable of playing a good game, which worries me. The 4-point loss to Kansas, I think they beat Michigan outright. I know Michigan's not a super team by any stretch, but still.
They did that on the road.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is still a competitive Indiana team. 5.5 looks like a punch. It might be a pass for me. I'd like to get it if it goes down. If money comes in on Nebraska, get a better line, maybe I'd be a little more interested.
Okay, and Sean, you did say the line opened at 4, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a 4.
Okay.
Then I saw I
So
got 4.5, and this was
you figured 3. So
yeah, I thought it'd be like 3-ish, and I saw 4.5, and this was about 6 o'clock last night. 6, so and it's gone up. And actually, I see KenPom had this at a 7, which I mean. And again, I'm not a bookmaker. We always say the bookmakers know their numbers. Yeah. So I had at 3, it comes out at 4. I don't feel that bad about it. I feel pretty good. Then I see somebody who goes really into numbers, has it at 7. I'm like, all right, am I totally wrong on this number? Which is, again, I was taking Nebraska at the 3 anyway. I thought they were going to win this game. So, again, I don't think a team's going to win by 4, right? If I take a favorite at 3, 4, 5, they should win by 10. If I take a dog within 5 points, I think it's going to win outright. So I don't mind the 2-point difference that it's up to now at a 5.
I have a lot of faith in KenPom, but just keep in mind, folks, and I'm not saying it applies to this matchup because I've seen situations like this where they have a team being favored by 7 and it opens at 4 and then it's up to 5. Yeah. But keep in mind, too, they do a great job. And I'm a follower, I'm a subscriber, and it's helped me, especially on college basketball totals. But they do not account for injuries or players being held out or whatever the case may be. Okay, that's not factored into all their calculations, at least to my knowledge. But we'll see. But at the end of the day, KenPom to me is the most accurate in terms of predictions, in terms of where a line should be. As a matter of fact, if you check KenPom every day, you'll find they're eerily close on just about every opening line that comes out within a point or point and a half. And then you have the exceptions to the rule, like this one, where, you'll find one time where they'll have a team as a 7-point favorite where it only opened at 4. So, again, I would highly recommend, folks, if you really want to get into analytics and matchups and strength of schedule and offensive and defensive efficiency and all the kind of things that really matter, and comparatively in a matchup, they're the best to go to in terms of handicapping without having your own software like I do or going to there's other sites out there that are very helpful, but they're very strong. Okay. Let me get to my matchup, and that one is the game between Xavier and Villanova. Talk about teams, guys that have had a couple bad losses this year. I mean, Villanova, a real hard team to figure out. They seem to step up to the plate against better competition, but when they play in city rivals, they've had a difficult time this year. I mean, they lose to Drexel, they lose to St. Joe's. Who else did they lose to? In
K-State.
They lost to, yeah, okay. Or University of Penn they lost to. So I mean, they lost to 3 teams in that where they play those games. It's what do they call it? The something 5 in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish Jim was here; he would be able to tell us. But in any event, you look at Xavier 0-2 in true road games this year, losing by 12 at Purdue, nothing to be ashamed of. But then they go to St. John's, they get beat by 15. They also lost at home to a lower conference, a non-power conference team as well. Villanova, on the other hand, they come in hot, 3-0 straight up in ATS in their last 3. A couple good wins in that stretch against UCLA and Creighton. Nothing to be ashamed of there, that's for sure. And then also earlier in the year, they played in the tournament on a neutral floor, and they won 3 wins in 3 days against pretty good competition in Texas Tech, North Carolina, and Memphis. Also, Villanova, over their last 5 games, in typical Villanova fashion, they seem to be rounding into form defensively, allowing a shade under 60 points per game. And opponents over their last 5 games have only averaged 10 free throw attempts per game, which not only the less than 60 points a game is impressive, but it's impressive when you see a team go over that type of stretch and allow that little of free throws. Speaks to the not only great defense, but the discipline on defense as well. So I'm going to take Villanova here. I just this line opened at 7.5. It's now 8.5. And again, this jumped right out at me, guys, as a heavy line. And what I mean by that is it's one of those lines when you initially look at it, you look for reasons to use the underdog, and then you find out after research that this line is justified. And I don't think it's going to be heavy action on the home favorite in this one. I think we'll see a lot of split action here because of the size of the line. But anyway, Sean, your thoughts?
Yeah, you see a big. This again last night. This was a 6.5 late afternoon, and I mean, it ran down. They beat Creighton, UCLA, Memphis, who we talked about against Clemson just before. We think it's a pretty good team. The Texas Tech game, and then you look at Xavier losing Washington, Purdue. I mean, not
they had a bad loss early on. I don't have it in front of me. I'll look that up. Go ahead, Sean.
They beat St. Mary's, which has been a weird. Who they lose to? They also Purdue, Washington, Oakland. Maybe that's the loss.
That was
about Oakland.
15
point fans losing by 2 against the Grizzle. I'm with you here. It's an 8, and Nova is a team that we talk about their perception. The perception is they score 70 and win games 70-55, and now you're laying basically a double-digit spot on them now almost. Big move there from a 6.5 to an 8. I'm with you on the lean there to Nova as well. Haven't pulled the trigger on it. Don't know. I got a bunch of games already. I don't know if I'm going to jump on this one. I got a plethora of games up, a 5-pack on the site in addition to extras, but I do like Villanova here.
Jesse, do you remember what they call the 5 teams in? There's a term they use for the 5 teams in Philadelphia.
Unfortunately, Ross, I'm a long way from Pennsylvania, and I just I'm Philly 5, Pennsylvania 5. I'm just throwing out guesses here.
Shake your head if you know.
It's called the Philadelphia 5. It's called Philadelphia Big 5. Yes,
it
is.
The Big 5. That's what
the Big 5 Classic. Philly Big 5.
All right, there you go. All right. Anyway,
well, they have
Jess,
what it is. They have a big. They got the Liberty Bell. It says Philly Big 5. So,
yeah,
I guess it's just the Big 5. But
Big 5. It's been a long storied series that they play in the before they
started in 1955. Probably your first year of betting basketball.
They used to play every one of those games in the Palestra in Philadelphia. I don't think they do that anymore. Anyway, Jesse, your thoughts on Villanova?
I listened carefully to what you had to say, Ross. I know that won't surprise you. I'm always listening carefully, but everything you were saying, I was buying into it, but I was coming to slightly different conclusion, and I'm looking at the total. Total sitting at 139. You talked about how good Villanova's defense is. They've been holding opponents to 60 points per game, under 10 free throws per game. 139, that screams under to me. You look at pace of play, Villanova, 69 possessions per game. That ranks 287th nationally. You look at previous history between these two teams, they've gone under in 5 of the last 6 meetings. But what strikes me as more significant than going under in 5 of the last 6, all 5 of those unders failed to go over 130 points, and the total for tonight's game is 139. This one almost made my premium card. I love it, but the ones that are on my premium card are even better than this one.
Yeah, I had 141 as a total just before we came on air. So Xavier Villanova under
Xavier,
141.
Xavier.
Xavier.
Xavier Villanova under 141. It's Jesse's lean. Me and Sean, our official pick is mine on Villanova -8.5. Sean has a lean that way as well, but it's not. He probably says he's not going to use it on his premium card, but he does have a plethora of games he's going to talk about those games. Sean, what do you have?
Yeah, I got a 5-pack, and if you buy a pass for the days, I have 3, 6. I think 16 games up total for college hoops. I open a 5-pack up because you can't put 16. People lose their minds. But their games, but it's Ross. The other day I have like 3 games. Some days it's you're like I kind of like the games. I'm going to come out with games. I'm not telling you to put dimes across the. But no, we bet small. We grind away. I'm a couple games under 500. I got some work to do, but I like the basketball card today. I had an ice winner yesterday. I got some ice today. I got some NBA. I don't know. I'm doing all right. NBA's won for me. Hockey's all right. College basketball. Maybe we're getting on the right stretch here to start the year. I don't. Listen, 5-3 yesterday. I'll take days like that all the time. I don't.
You had 6-3 at our site yesterday. Yeah. So
but I'm talking about with college hoops. I think I went 5-3.
Oh,
the other
okay.
was I had a hockey winner there on the ice. So
sure. Yeah. Good. So Sean Higgs again, folks. You purchase from Sean. You can get a 3-day, 7-day, or 30-day subscription plan. You could also get his daily picks.
6 NFL's up. Buy it along. Get the week pass. I got 6 NFL.
And you get our guarantee that if he doesn't win, he doesn't make a profit, we'll credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. And again, folks, the credit we give you on a loss, it's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of lack of confidence. It's for a lot of you out there, timing is everything. You can catch one of us on a real good streak, and then you renew with us. And then you might catch us on a so-so streak where we maybe barely make a profit, or we lose a little bit of money, or we have a bad month or week. That gives you a peace of mind. And it's not like when you get that guarantee that you have to stick with that capper, even though it's not a good idea to bounce from capper to capper to capper all the time. But having said that, you're not bound and gagged to stick with that guy. You could use that credit on any capper you wish, at any time you wish. You may use that capper on a $35 single play, and then your other $64 in credit you decide to split between me and Jesse or anybody else on the site. So again, folks, it's a nice feature that we afford you, and take advantage of it. Jesse, things going good, and you're looking for a big year this year. I know that.
You betcha. Yeah, like I said, yesterday's card 2-2, rather pedestrian results, but I did hit another college basketball side. Now 13-2 with my last 15 college basketball sides. Number 2 for the last 30 days at gamblersworld.net. Number 2 for the season with college basketball, gamblersworld.net. I got 2 college basketball totals up in a part of a 3-pack tonight, and got some NBA and some hockey as well.
All right. So you get Jesse Schule. Same thing applies to him and Sean. Same thing applies with me. Again, folks, I didn't have anything up yesterday. Ran into a little bit of a family emergency yesterday. And, we were talking, and Sean, I'm more interested in, not that I'm not interested in what Jesse has to say. I'm always interested in that. But you being a volume handicapper, you said you put 3 picks up the other day. I know myself. I don't like to marry myself to like people ask me, well, how many picks could I expect per day? It depends on the day. And, we're 7-day-a-week guys, Sean, and Jesse. And there's some days where we actually have a life outside of sports betting. Okay. So there's some days where family things take us away from the amount of time that we could spend on our work. And having said that, I know I don't try to force plays when I'm working with a more limited schedule on that particular day. I don't know. Do you guys run across that on a daily basis, which I'm sure you do? And how do you handle it? Start with you, Sean.
Yeah, listen, college basketball, you have huge days some days, 100 games more. So you have to be you got to be like proactive ahead of time. So I'll get my KenPom numbers, I'll have Partovic numbers. I'll be ready for 3 days out the window. And I'm like, okay, who do I like already? And if the numbers come out, I like them, we're going to be on them. If there's nothing there, I'm not going to put something out just to put. I was saying this the other day in my little midday show. I said, I'm not going to put a game out here to put it out. Like NBA, I have 20 games in the NBA for the season. I'm not running to bed, and I look at the game every night. I look at NBA like, do I have something today? No, I can move on. College hoops the other day. There was 4 games on New Year's Day. A bunch of Texas schools. I looked at it. I'm not going to dig into that. Maybe there were some easy winners. There are huge favorites, but I'm not. It's like all sports, NFL included. And here's the line ahead of time. I don't like it. I'm moving right past it. There's no reason to dig into every single game. If I don't like it on first glance, I'm not jumping in because I know I'll probably find something anyway, especially in the college basketball when there's 67 games. I'd be shocked if I didn't have.
I think, and I get your style, but I think what I was asking you is, you have a couple kids, you know what I mean? Yeah. And there's things that come up with the kids, things that come up with the wife. Somebody's visiting as they were during the holiday season.
But
the
good thing about the holidays, though, Ross.
Yeah.
The lines are out ahead of time, so I don't have to worry about day of stuff. And
well, I'm talking about basketball. I'm talking about basketball season in particular.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I should have specified that the day-to-day sport.
Well, I mean, I already got the rotation on for tomorrow. I'm already on. I'm already, it's noon. And again,
okay. So what happens?
Bet those ahead of time.
What happens if something throws a crimp in your schedule where you can't put the kind of time in to like you like to say, find your numbers?
There'll be nothing.
How do you? Okay.
There'll be nothing.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So. Yeah.
No. I'm not. Yeah, I'm just not going to put it like, oh, I got the kid at some Guante. I better put something up. Well, it's not going to really affect me. I'll just do. I could always do it later on, and most of the stuff's already done ahead of time. It's not.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm not going to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just going to put something out to put out if it's not. If I run out of time.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say because I mean. If I don't put the time in, I don't put the play out. I don't bet the game. Anyway, go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm extremely fortunate, Ross, living on the other side of the world. I'm usually doing my work in the middle of the night when the kids are sleeping. And there's, it's a lot more difficult for life to get in the way when I'm the only one that's awake in my whole neighborhood. And usually I've got my picks up, before anybody wakes up. And I also have a lovely wife that takes care of everything for me, all the day-to-day house chores and everything else. And I'm really fortunate in that respect. And that allows me to really, concentrate on doing my job and getting ahead of the game. Like Sean says, I like to know who I'm going to be betting on well in advance. Early bird gets the worm kind of thing, get ahead of the betting markets. And, when life gets in the way, that might slow me down a little bit and might lead to smaller cards or maybe no games at all with a particular sport. But that's how I handle it.
And people don't realize if you don't have a good support system at home in this business, you're either single or you retire from this business because it's a lot to ask of whoever's in your life at that particular moment in time or for over the years. because they have to you have to sacrifice a lot to put the hours into your livelihood. Well, like I said, it's a 7-day-a-week job. We don't call in sick. It's hard to do so. And the bottom line is people in your life have to be patient with what your work detail is on a daily basis. So again, it's not about picking winners. Sometimes you have to have these discussions to make the viewer out there, the subscriber out there, understand what we go through on a daily basis. We're not saying woe is me, but it's not all glory. You know what I mean? So in any event, all right, you could find me over at gamblersworld.net too, folks. On a 17-7 run in college basketball, currently number 1 at the site in college basketball. Coming off a 4-1 on New Year's Day with my college football bowl picks. And we'll be back again tomorrow talking more college basketball with these two gentlemen. And we'll also be back tomorrow afternoon with myself actually we'll be talking the NFL tomorrow morning. I take that back. And then tomorrow afternoon, I'll be with Doug Upstone, who returns, who went through some health issues. Glad to see he's doing okay. He's going to be with us tomorrow. We'll be covering some NFL as well. And then Friday is the live show. And like I said, we're going to be covering the college football championship game that will go on Monday night. We'll have a side, a total, a halftime bet. And these two gentlemen here that I'm with are very good at doing props. So we're going to ask for their expertise in that regard, and looking forward to it. If you have not subscribed, please hit that black subscribe button underneath. It'll get you subscribed absolutely free. There's no strings attached. There's no hidden agenda, folks. You're privy to all the, I like to say, and I'm very biased, the best sports betting podcast on the internet today, at least in this format, without disrespecting anybody else. And if you're on your PC, there's a WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your page as well. Click on that. That will get you subscribed. And then take one extra step further if you're new, or if you have already subscribed and you haven't done this already, go into your YouTube settings and hit that alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our future broadcasts going up on our great channel. Anyway, for Jesse Schule and Sean Higgs, thank you guys for joining me today and doing another terrific job as always. I'm Ross Benjamin. We'll talk to you tomorrow, folks.